Hey guys, what's happening? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. So I promised it yesterday in the video that I would do a little bit of a package for the upcoming JP Morgan conference, right? Do a little bit of a prep package, and today is as good of a day as any. So let's get into it. Uh, First off, the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, it's healthcare, right? It's in the title. But, uh, there's a fair amount of interest in biotech today because of the Celgene deal, right? So, the JP Morgan Conference, typically you get a pretty good combination of, say, earnings, guidance, drug data, M&A deals, right? And today, uh, kind of like an early announcement, right? Kind of front running the conference next week. Typically, you have a window where from like the start of Sunday night through Thursday, the conclusion of the conference, you get the deals. But Celgene and Bristol Myers kick things off today with a really blockbuster deal. I mean, in every sense of the word. So Celgene was actually a trade idea going into the conference, not because I thought it was an M&A target, but because it was working on a reversal, really deeply oversold reversal. Every year they give guidance. Also, there's an upcoming patent resolution, or there is there's the possibility for upcoming patent resolution. So this was a play on multiple fronts, and the one front I wasn't anticipating was an M&A deal, but uh, no complaints for me on that front. Right now, the XBI so the XLV is the broad healthcare ETF. The XBI is more biotech, and over the last couple of years, the XBI has performed pretty well into and after the JP Morgan conference. This year, a little bit more unusual. Obviously, everything's getting hit pretty hard, but had a bounce, pretty nice bounce over the last week. And maybe if you start to see positive announcements, more M&A, right? The XBI, it's it could easily get back up into like this high 70s, 80 area, right? With not a whole lot of effort. If news keeps reading out well. So if you're looking for like an ETF, XLV is a little bit more broad. IBB, the XBI is a little more focused. IBB is more weighted towards the large caps, but the XBI could be a pretty good play going into that conference, right? Okay, for individual names, there's going to be a lot going on. I'm just going to kind of focus on the handful of names that I'll be watching. Ones that I'm reasonably confident should have news and should be movers. Uh, there will be quite a bit um, outside of what I talk about that's going to be moving. But these are just the ones that have strong histories of guiding and moving this conference, or are anticipated to release data. So uh, first off, Exact Sciences. So this company over the last few years been pretty routine. Should guide at the conference. This is kind of a battleground name. A lot of shorts, some vocal short sellers in this one too. Uh, so expect a pretty big move. Options are looking for about a 7.5 point move. This is next week's options, so they have weeklies on this one. So about 7.5 points. But I mean, this stock has routinely moved 10 plus, so 7.5 is not too bad. And this they have a pretty good history of guiding at the conference, so expect some news there. ISRG, MedTech name, right? Robots. They've guided the conference last 4 years in a row. Expect guidance again, right, next week. The issue with ISRG is that probably thinking good numbers, right? Expectations are pretty high. I mean, they've been on a nice run. And the stock has been on an incredible tear the last 2 years, just starting to roll over now. You can see like the move that it's had. So, stock isn't acting particularly great. Expectations are pretty high. So, uh, you know, options are looking at 26 points, which is not it's not crazy considering it's a $450 stock, but could be more risk to the downside, which is going to be similar to the next one I'm talking about, Lumina. Kind of the same story. Uh, you know, been a really nice 2 years for Illumina. You can see it's had a really big run off the bottom from beginning of 2017. Now, kind of the same story. Expectations are high. They've absolutely demolished estimates the last couple quarters. Beat and raise, beat and raise. Stock is acting weak, below the 200 for the first time in about 2 years. Stock is not acting great. Expectations are high. It's up a lot over a 2 year stretch. So it's another one where the risk reward probably more skewed to the downside. But I do feel like Illumina and ISRG will probably have decent numbers. Like the issue. So Illumina's priced in 20, ISRG is priced in 26. The issue is that is this the type of tape that if a company beats or just has like a marginal beat, they're going to get rewarded? And that's a little bit tougher to gauge at the moment. So Dexcom, another medtech name. They've guided pretty consistently the last couple of years at the JP Morgan conference, so I'm expecting guidance next week. This is kind of like a high-flying name. Again, sensing a pattern here. This one, just in 2018, just had a really, really fantastic year. Pulling back, hanging above the 200-day into a gap from the most recent report. So expecting a pretty volatile move with this, just because this was a really explosive growth company. And I've read some chatter that people are starting to anticipate the growth slow, and so both ways could be the way to play this. So Dexcom priced it in about 11. Those are January 18th monthly options though. So Celgene I talked about. I mean, they were routinely one of those companies you could rely on to guide. Vertex typically. Well, not typically. Occasionally, on the Sunday before the conference starts, they'll issue some guidance, so you can keep an eye on that one. Gilead. So this is not going to be guidance. This could be drug data. So phase 3 NASH trial is supposed to read out first quarter. Originally, this was supposed to be read out in the fourth quarter, and it got pushed back. So from what I've read, some people think that this could come out next week. If not next week. Possibly January or early February. So this will be a big deal. It's obviously risky. It's a phase 3. It's a phase 3 drug result. So I mean, expect a pretty big move. This was about a month ago. I read that this could move 10 to 20% off of this. So depending on what the data looked like. So a pretty big catalyst for a big cap biotech, Gilead. Sage I wrote about in last night's letter. So Sage, this will be data. Most people expect this next week. So if not next week, maybe the week after. But a lot of the notes I've read are thinking this could come next week. This is phase 3 is also phase 3, and this is probably their most critical drug in their pipeline. They're up for FDA approval for one. In the next 2 months, but estimates for that one are pretty low. This one that they're going to read out for phase 3 is super, super important, and depending on the outcome of this data, it could be up or down anywhere from 20 to 50% either direction. So really expecting like a massive move here. The straddle for next week's gone up a little bit. It's about 24 points. So for an $89 stock, when you're looking at at least 20, maybe 25% price to move. For Gilead, the straddle for the next week is about 3 points. I didn't mention that. And then Alnylam. So Alnylam, one of the big biotech stories of last year. Alnylam, massive move on data, got FDA approval, and then the stock has been performing pretty poorly since. The company launched the drug last quarter. Was the first time they reported. It was the first time they reported numbers from the drug. Disappointing. You can see the thing got hit pretty hard. So they already announced that they're going to be giving sales update beginning of January. So most likely next week. This is still pretty expensive name market cap wise, and expectations are really high for this drug. So the drug launch is going to be really closely followed, and this is one that I expect to be pretty volatile next week as well. So those are like the say like 10 things I'm looking at next week. Again though, there's just so many names that are presenting, and not even like talking about potential for M&A because that's a little bit tougher to game plan for. But you know, expect a lot of guidance, maybe a good amount of drug data, and if we get some more M&A, then that'd be really really positive, um, just to kind of start building momentum or rebuild momentum because at the moment just about everything has been absolutely crushed. So M&A would really really help out. Uh, all right, so you got the JP Morgan prep book here. Hopefully it lives up to the billing. I mean, there's been years where you've seen some really, really wild action, so I'm hoping for the best. It's a great start. Every year, it's like a great week of trading, just so much moving right at the beginning of the month, right at the beginning of 2019. So, really looking forward to the JP Morgan conference next week. Also, retail sales should start rolling out in the very, very, very near future, so that should be interesting as well. As always, guys, I'd love to hear from you. Questions, comments. I'm on the VTF, or if if you want to like write to the VTF or for this upcoming coaching session, if you have questions, bring them along or pass them along so we can prep for the coaching session. But I always do love to hear from you, so please reach out. Hope you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.